Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Save It for the Blind podcast. My name is Carson Odegaard. I'm here with my co-host, Jeff Smith, and we're actually getting near the end of our first season of the podcast. So if you guys like what you're hearing, please go leave us a comment or review. You can actually reviews on Spotify now. So if you guys could do that for us, tell us what you like, what you don't like, that would be awesome as we wrap up the first season. But today's episode, we have Brian Huber, CWA Wood Duck Biologist. And Brian, if you want to introduce our guest that we have with us today.
Yeah, we got Jim Paroli with us today. He's one of our district managers, and he's also the chair for the California Wood Duck Program. So Jim's been involved with the Wood Duck Program long before I've been around, and he knows a lot about wood ducks, a lot about boxes, and a lot about the program and how it started.
Jim, when did you get involved?
1997.
Was that the first year we had it?
No.
Do we know?
1991 was the first year that we had the official wood duck program under the California Waterfowl
Okay, so 6 years
umbrella.
in you started.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, and the district manager there, I remember, came out. His brother was a fencing contractor, and I figured, okay, we're going to get some wood duck boxes. I got to find some trees, and he would put a box up on a pole, and I actually still have that box, that same box up. I mean, but Ken Murray was his name. And he was a district manager back then, and those are the shoes that I stepped into when Ken stepped out.
Wow.
But it's been it's a pleasure.
Yeah, what area of California are you a manager in?
Stanislaus, San Joaquin, Calaveras, and Tuolumne.
Okay.
He's also a fill-in for all the districts we don't have a manager for, so he's kind of my go-to guy when I need some help with the wood duck program. He's always ready to step up and help with the program when we need him.
And you meet some great people,
Oh yeah.
So it's always been a lot of fun.
What has kept you involved for that long of a time?
In as much as the gratitude of putting that many birds back into the system, banding has been a lot of fun for me. Mm-hmm. But you're in the field, The hunting season's done, and you're still in the field. You're out there, you're taking care of your boxes, you're monitoring your boxes. You get to band. I'll go to other projects and band for them, so you get to see other projects and interact with people that have the same passion.
Absolutely. Was there ever a passion for wood ducks prior to getting involved? Is that, obviously you're a duck hunter, but was there any type of a connection with, essentially wood duck and wanting to see that, flourish for what it is now?
Not in particular. I started hunting where I grew up down on the Lower Peninsula, and wood ducks, weren't a common bird down there. And when I moved to the valley and started seeing wood ducks on riparian and rivers, I was always told that they don't even taste good. They're bitter. And I'm not sure if that's true. Okay, but where they're eating grain, they're a sought after bird.
Yeah.
And as you're building that population, and you're having the opportunity to hunt wood ducks, they're a very sporty bird to shoot, and they're a delicious bird to eat. So it's hands down, why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Were the goals of the program back in that time the same as they are today, or has it kind of changed a little bit?
For the most part, they're kind of the same. The main goal was to kind of increase the population, provide, restore riparian habitat. So we've done, I think it was 75 miles of riparian habitat that we've restored over the last years. And really just defining methods on how to check boxes and collect data. So that was kind of the early part of the program, was really trying to define the best management practices for collecting data and then compiling all that data into a database to kind of cover the whole state of California. So every year we get volunteers across the whole state. They report their data to me. We put it in a big report that comes out in the spring edition of the magazine every year.
Yeah, you might not know, but how's the data tracking back then? Because that's almost right at the start of the internet, you know, what?
Yeah, I mean, we still, a lot of our wood duck volunteers are older, so we still get, people sending snail mail. So I'm assuming, it was all just handwritten. And
they probably still have the numbers somewhere hidden away.
Yep, yeah, and so that data just, goes in, and we can, learn a lot of stuff. We can get like average clutch size, so how many eggs are average, what the success of the nests are, the success of the hatch, and we can kind of compile all that data. And the data that we get, this is citizen science, right? So we have all these volunteers, and they're giving us that data. And we get volunteers that check data a lot, and they give us a lot of good information. And then we get volunteers that kind of do the bare minimum, where they check boxes, give you how many eggs hatched. And so you have a variance of what kind of data you get from it. But like a lot of the long-term projects that we do, we have like 15, 20 years of really good data collection on specific sites. Like Murdoch Gun Club is one that jumps out at me. We've been monitoring that one, really closely for a long time. So,
wow.
What is some of that data given us and the insights of wood ducks and, local wood duck populations?
Yeah, in general, wood ducks are philopatric, so they come back to where they were hatched. So the female will hatch her eggs in a box, and then those offspring female tend to come back to the same area. So you're really just boosting that population. And yeah, you're just creating more ducks, basically, with the program.
Yeah. Is there a success ratio that's higher or lower? Like if a female hen finds a natural cavity in an oak tree versus the man-made boxes that we provide?
That's one area of study in wood ducks is natural cavities, right? They're extremely hard to study and quantify. Even just finding cavities and then figuring out how to monitor them. Most of the natural cavities are way up in a tree, inaccessible. Back on the East Coast, they're doing a little more. We were just at the North American Duck Symposium, and there were some presentations on natural cavities and stuff, but I haven't seen any numbers. It's just finding the cavity natural is hard enough, and then trying to collect any data is, near impossible right currently. So, yeah.
Interesting.
The programs that have collected data like there are mostly back east, and what little I have read on studies, and this is more back in the mid 2000s, it was like not you didn't see more natural cavity nesters than you did wood duck boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you break it down just in terms of habitat, right? Like for California, we've lost 90% of our wetland habitat, and on top of that, it's 98% of our riparian habitat. So the habitat is just completely wiped out due to, agricultural practices, urban sprawl, all that stuff has just completely wiped out the habitat. So those natural cavities are just not around like they used to be. So that's why wood duck boxes are so successful.
Right. And that's what started the program. The wood duck numbers were down kind of in the dumps and not a lot of wood ducks around. I can remember as a young kid, like to see a wood duck was kind of a thing.
Yeah,
right?
It was huge. Market hunting before 1918, wood ducks were the number one sought out bird. Obviously, they liked how they tasted way back then. And they hunted them so hard that they were doomed to go extinct. People really thought that they were going to go extinct. 1918, we had the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, and that put a closure on wood ducks, and it was a closure for 23 years. So you couldn't even hunt wood ducks for 23 years. And then in 1937, they invented wood duck boxes, and some guys built a box, and wood ducks just really took to these artificial boxes, and that just really helped boost the population back up.
Gotcha. And then even putting boxes, as it evolved, putting boxes on poles rather than just trees helps to keep the predators out of them. So it's, easier to monitor, easier. You choose your location.
Yeah.
It's not just, okay, there's a tree, that's where it's going.
Throw it up at random.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's nice. When I first started working for CWA, I did some wood duck monitoring. And yeah, there's areas where the tree is now 30 years old and it's 15 feet up in the air and it's on a limb and there's poison oak everywhere. It's just like to check that one box to see if there's anything is in there. You got to go through a whole rigmarole to get up there. But yeah, those boxes on those poles, you could drive up with a UTV, small little ladder, get right up, check it, boom. Really efficient, way to manage a project.
Yep. Yeah, and that, like the old literature basically said you had to put it 60 feet up in a tree, right?
60 feet. Jeez.
But, you know, there is some evidence that the higher up in a tree it is, the better success it is because the less likely predators to be that high up in a tree, right? So if you wanted to put it higher, it could be better, but on a tree. Now that we put them on poles, that more or less, you know, takes away a lot of the predator problems that you'd have on a tree.
Right.
Yeah.
That's wild. So why are the wood ducks such keystone species just to kind of determine the health of a whole habitat?
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, we've lost so much of this riparian habitat, and wood ducks require such a specific habitat. You know, they need food, they need cover, they need healthy water, all that stuff. So if you have wood ducks in your system, it's just a keystone species showing you that your system is healthy, right?
So your
They're not gonna
overall
be-
riparian system is
Yeah,
healthy based
yeah.
off of the wood ducks that you're seeing.
Just wood ducks being there, yeah.
Wow,
So,
okay.
you know, like, you know, you have good riparian habitat, clean water, you know, they're not going to be in areas that's not healthy. So it's just kind of a keystone species showing, you know, the health of your system.
That's awesome. It can be an indicator for, you know, the health of a total habitat instead of just itself being a wood duck.
Right, yeah, because they're going to be in a habitat that has all those, you know, checks all the boxes for the conditions they need. So it's just kind of an indicator of good habitat, basically.
Mm-hmm.
With the program starting and kind of the history of it, go through some of basically what the main goal is and why the volunteers are so important for this program, and some of the volunteers that CWA has had, maybe highlight them that have been around for such a long time.
Yeah, I mean, so like we said earlier, the wood duck program started officially in 1991, but there was a lot of folks already doing wood duck boxes previous to that. And what we did as California waterfowl way before my time is they brought all these volunteers together under one kind of umbrella program, right? So the California Wood Duck Program under California waterfowl. And so the basic goal was to incorporate all these projects under one umbrella so that we can kind of keep track of the data and kind of see the trends in the population, and involve, you know, get volunteers involved and basically, you know, try and grow these populations, grow the program, get more boxes out in the field. A lot of those folks, 1991, we had like Steve Simmons was a huge wood ducker down in kind of Modesto. I'd never met Steve. I don't know if you ever met Steve or not.
I did get to meet Steve.
Yeah, but he was instrumental in starting the program. Robert Franco, Bog McGlanders, all these guys got together and kind of created the program. And, you know, like the real early was just kind of get an understanding of what wood duck boxes are doing in California. You know, how many are out there, right? We didn't know that before. And kind of, you know, some baseline studies on wood ducks. I mean, baseline studies, you know, banding, you know, you mark a bird and then it gets encountered. So you have that, you know, encounter information on the banding side of things. So just incorporating all that stuff into the program.
How often do banded birds come back to the same exact box, or do they usually come back to the same exact box if you see that?
We see it quite a bit. Some of the projects that we study intensely, we'll see the same wood ducks come back to the same box or a box very close to it. UC Davis has done just amazing studies on wood ducks now. One of the beauties of wood duck boxes is that this science is available. It's so easy to put up wood duck box, and now you can monitor it. Like the hen goes in there, you can plug the hole, you can reach in, you can grab her, you can band her, you can, like UC Davis is doing genetic studies on them. They're doing all kinds of really cool research. So the research and technologies come a long ways on how we're studying wood ducks, and basically our understanding of wood ducks too is, you know, changing a lot too.
You know, it's really neat when you do go into a box and you recapture a hen that was banded, and the data tells you that, you know, she was in that box last year, she was in that box the year before, or she, like Brian said, she's in the box right next door. So it's you know, it's great and rewarding.
Yeah.
And what's our scale in terms of the number of volunteers in the program now and the number of boxes that those volunteers are managing throughout the state?
Yeah, I don't have the number of boxes, but I know we had 275 volunteers, and we had about 26,000 ducklings just last spring from our boxes.
And that's one of the largest conservation-orientated
Volunteer
programs in the nation,
in the
correct?
country. Yeah, from our understanding.
Yeah,
Yep.
pretty impressive.
Yeah. But it kind of, just talking about wood ducks in general, they generally aren't big migrators. So before this, I looked at some of our banding data, and the majority of our birds are shot within 50 miles of where they were banded. But we do have some outliers. We do have some birds that have shown up in South Carolina, Louisiana, Arkansas. But generally speaking, almost all the wood ducks banded in California get shot or encountered in California. And then the next biggest state is actually Washington. And then it goes to Oregon and then Idaho. So these birds do move a little bit north, but not too much.
So you're saying the second highest birds
besides
Washington?
California is
Going up to
Washington, state of
Washington.
Washington. Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's where they're getting encountered. So either shot or recaptured on the nest.
Right.
Yeah. But I know we get birds from Nevada quite a bit that come from Nevada over here from banding data.
That.
And then Idaho also, a lot of birds will move down from Idaho too.
Okay.
Yeah. But for the most part, they don't migrate very big distances like you see with, your pintail migrations and, your teal migrations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So talking about, wood duck boxes and wood duck box this, what is a wood duck box for somebody that isn't aware? Kind of describe it and go through how somebody might make one. But just give us your layman's term of what a wood duck box is.
You want to do that?
Sure. CWA actually has on their website a plan on how to build your wood duck box, how to take and lay out the sheet of plywood. A sheet of plywood will build 3 boxes with very, very little waste. And, front, back, the hole is specific. Rather than just cutting a round hole, CWA has gone to an oval hole, and that keeps raccoons out. So there's a reason for just about every part of the box, how deep the box is, and I don't know, what are they, 2 feet?
Yeah, they're about 23 inches, I think. Yeah,
23
roughly.
inches tall?
Long, yeah.
Long.
Yeah,
Top to bottom.
Top to bottom.
bottom of the volume of the box.
And what's the
yeah.
width on those?
It's about 10.5 inches or so,
Okay.
somewhere in that range,
Okay.
yeah. So your bottom generally more or less 10 by 10, the bottom
Yep,
square
yep.
and then the top. Yeah,
Gotcha, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then that whole, like Jim was saying, elliptical pattern, and it's a 3-inch by 4-inch. And so that's basically, like he was saying, the size for like a full-grown raccoon won't get his head in there.
And it's up high enough that the raccoon, even getting his arm in there, the hen is safe because she's low enough.
Okay.
Yeah, and even the hole, there is a diagram to scale on the plan in the CWA package that shows you and gives you a template for building that hole. Oh, and also the ladder inside.
Yeah, so on
Talk about the ladder.
So we there's many ways you can do it, but basically the ducklings hatch inside the box, and they're fully hatched out of the egg, and they actually crawl up the inside of the box and then leap out the hole. So we add some type of ladder inside of there. We have a CNC machine, so we just cut it with the CNC machine now. Previous to that, you could use just a screwdriver and just scratch it enough, just give them some kind of
Traction.
texture to be able to climb up. Some people put like a mesh screen in there. I'm not a fan of that because it always seems to fall out and scratches me when I'm trying to grab the bird and band it.
That
and, stuff,
and the hen can get her wing caught in that part that gets that falls off. Yeah, I used to think that was pretty neat until especially your arm. You reach in there and it just So,
Yeah.
And they always end up seeming to get pulled away from the front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we use 3/4 inch plywood. That's basically what we've kind of our standard that we've gone to. And like Jim said, a full sheet will get you 3 full boxes out of that. And it's with some pretty basic tools. I mean, you don't even need a table saw, just a skill saw and a jigsaw or something to cut the hole. And that's about as much tools as you on the basic level, to build these boxes.
And one thing that people, I don't think it's in our plan, and I believe it adds at least 5 years to the life of a box is glue.
Oh yeah,
It's huge. It keeps it protected from both the weather and it just bonds that, in addition to the screws.
Yeah.
yep. And then once you get your box built, you got it all glued and screwed together. You got to add chips or add some kind of nesting material. Wood ducks don't bring any nesting material into natural cavities into wood duck boxes, so as a manager of those projects, you have to provide all that. So we use it's called Flake from Tractor Supply. Any kind of farm store, pet store carries it, kind of the same stuff you put in like your hamster cage at home.
Wood shavings.
Yeah. And you want to fill it up about 5 to 6 inches from the bottom, and that gives enough material for them to build a nice nest bowl and create their nest in there.
So those folks that may have wood duck boxes on their properties that have not been maintained by anybody, what would you say to those folks? Are those boxes still active or in good shape, or are they basically
what's the timing on it too?
Yeah,
Like, can I do that in February? Can I do that in?
Yeah, and speak to the point of actively managing it to, for success for the wood duck. Because you do see that where it's like, oh, you guys got wood duck boxes? Oh, yeah, I haven't touched those in 5 years. You're like, oh.
Yeah, if they've been sitting for 5 years, there's probably, I would imagine, no wood ducks using them because they've just been filled in with starling nests, squirrel nests, something. I mean, these boxes not only attract wood ducks, they attract other wildlife, right? So I've had rats in the box, I've had possums, I've had ringtail cats, barn owls, starlings, flickers.
Squirrels.
I mean, yeah, all kinds of stuff. So we recommend wood ducks will start prospecting for nesting sites in February, sometimes even late January. They'll start going out there. You'll notice them sitting on boxes, kind of scoping it out. So we recommend for general start is get your boxes. We call them just geared up or whatever in February, right? So you want to go in February. You want to go check your boxes. You want to add new wood chips if they need it. You fluff up kind of the old ones. There's any kind of material in there that's not, big sticks or anything, you want to get all that stuff out, kind of clean them out. Take notes of your boxes. Sometimes a lid got blown off in a windstorm, so you need to take notes and, figure out what you need to do next time you come to, get that box available. And then from there, we recommend checking the maximum that we recommend is every 3 weeks. So on every 3 week cycle, you go to your box, and that's what we've found to be the best for the most success out of your boxes. Now you can take that and go once a month, and that's still great. You're still going to get a lot of good information and anything in between that. But the bare minimum to manage your boxes, the very bare minimum, and it's not the best data, but at least it's something, is to get your boxes checked early in February. And then at the end of the season, say like end of July, first week of August, go back and clean out your boxes, see what happened, and clean them out and make sure that they're ready for next year potentially.
Gotcha.
In addition to that, the shavings that you put in, if you just open the top and look in and you just see your shavings in there, you might not think that there's any activity in there. But if you reach in, usually there will be eggs that are buried there. Yeah. She hasn't started her incubation yet, but she will cover her eggs. So it'll look like you left it with just that top layer of shavings in there. So it's worth reaching in to make sure. And if there are eggs in there, then you have an active box.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and wood ducks, a typical clutch for one wood duck is about 12 eggs. Sometimes it varies more or less than that, but average is about 12 eggs. And the process is they lay one egg per day, right? So they lay an egg, and then so on the 12th egg, when they're getting close, then they incubate after they lay their last egg. And then they're going to sit on that nest pretty much 24/7. They'll take a small break in the morning, a small break in the evening. But other than that, they're sitting on that nest for about 27 days until it hatches. And then as soon as it hatches, usually when it hatches the following morning, within 24 hours, that morning, they're all going to jump out of the box. So once they hatch, they're out of there pretty quick, and the mom will lead them to water and to safety.
Wow. So what if, you check at your 3 week time period and there's 6 eggs, and then you go back 3 weeks later and there's 46 eggs in there? What is that?
Well,
crazy.
That's generally been referred to as a dump nest. And that's what it is. It's a dump nest, right? There's multiple females laying eggs in that nest is what's happening. And
what's the reason for that, morphologically speaking?
UC Davis has kind of turned our understanding of dump nests upside down, right?
Oh, really?
So they're doing genetic studies, right? So they can pull the genetics off the female, they can pull the genetics off the egg, and they can tell whose eggs are in that box, right? And so they've basically found that there's kind of different nesting strategies, and these nesting strategies can change seasonally. So you're either a sitter, right? So you go in and you sit, you lay your eggs, and you sit on that nest. Or you're what they call like a rover. and they just rove and they put eggs in different boxes. And so it's kind of a breeding strategy, right? If say that female had a tough year or something and she's in bad condition, she's like, well, I still want to pass on my genetics, so I'm going to don't put all your eggs in one box, right?
Wow.
She's going to spread her eggs out and put them in
It's
different
a survival
boxes.
strategy.
Yeah,
That's
it's like
crazy.
a different strategy for nesting. And they've found that they've changed. I mean, so what they've done is they've taken pit tags that use on fish. So it's like a little tiny, looks like a piece of grain of rice. And if that passes a reader, then it clicks on the reader, right? And so they're putting the reader on the outside of the box and they're putting the pit tags in the female so they can tell which box the female is going in. And they have some projects where the female is going into one box only, right? Only, that's it. And there's 80 boxes on the property. And then there's another female that went into every single box on the property, right? So there's like just this crazy breeding strategy. Yeah. So the research they're doing at UC Davis with the wood ducks is amazing. And so traditionally, a dump nest, you would see those 40 eggs and you'd be like, oh, this is a dump nest. We need to clear it out, right?
Yeah, that's what I heard back in the day.
Yeah, but so what will still happen is occasionally there'll be just a dump nest and no hen will incubate it. But you'll also have a dump nest where a hen still tries to incubate it. And we've had over 35 ducklings hatch out of one box.
Wow.
So obviously that's a lot for one female to handle, but yeah, it's crazy. And then another thing that they're seeing with the genetics is the relatedness, right? So like we were mentioning earlier, that the female's offspring come back to the same area. So a lot of those dump eggs are actually related to the female in there. So it's like a mom and her daughter laying eggs in her nest, and so it's like this family relationship. So it's almost like this community nesting strategy versus like dump nesting, And generally speaking, wood ducks are not very successful their first year at nesting. And so a lot of those, right now, we're seeing a lot of nesting ducks already, and those are the older, smarter females that know the sooner they get in and get it done, the better success they're going to have. And then later in the years, when we get kind of the hatchier birds that are trying nesting for the first time.
And to that, and going back to the monitoring, it's a good thing to monitor like the every 3 weeks, because if you've had an early hatch and you clean your box, there's a good chance that you'll have a second hatch in that box. Whereas if you leave it with all the down and all the eggshells in there, there's less likelihood of that box being used.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for folks that are looking for the plans, if you go to calwaterfowl.org, you can click on conservation, and then you can scroll down to the Wood Duck Program. There's a Learn More button, and down at the bottom, there is a view and download forms, and that'll actually give you the plans just like we were talking about if you want to build your own box. So what kind of impact are we making, or the Wood Duck Program making in California, for like totals of birds that are coming out?
Yeah, I mean, every year we hatch roughly 25 to 30,000 ducklings just out of our boxes, right? And so the population estimates from the bird surveys, I think it's like 15,000 wood ducks or whatever, but generally speaking, surveying wood ducks is impossible from a plane because they like to hide in riparian corridors. They like to hide, right? They don't like to be seen. So you're not going to pick them up in these traditional surveys. So, just the fact that we're producing that many ducks, on our own, just in our boxes, there's definitely a distinct. I think the latest I've heard is about 60,000 birds for our population. That was kind of predicted. There's kind of two distinct population of wood ducks. There's kind of our West Coast population, and then there's a huge population in the Mississippi and Atlantic flyways. Each of those have about 500,000 wood ducks, each one specific. So like almost 1 million wood ducks in those two flyways. So Pacific Flyway is not a huge hub of wood ducks like it is in the other flyways.
One more thing to add as far as building the wood duck boxes, you can get a hold of CWA and buy either a wood duck box that's already put together, or you can buy a kit and put it together so you don't have to go through all the layout and cutting. Yep. So those are available as well.
Yep, and then occasionally we'll have volunteers or Boy Scout, Eagle Scout projects. We'll build boxes, and when those are available, we can give those away to free to like new projects.
Oh, wow.
So we try and promote new projects by giving away, some free boxes is going to help them get started.
And if somebody was thinking about starting a project, what should they be looking for? I mean, do they need acreage? Do they need what do they need to be able to say, hey, I want a few boxes to start a project?
The first thing you got to do is have the correct habitat, right? So you got to make sure you have good brood water for when these ducklings come off the nest, right? So you want to be literature will say about a half mile from water, but the closer to water, the better. And so you got to find a place that has adequate habitat, and that's kind of the spring, early summer, even into late summer if you get those late hatches. So you want water on the habitat. Not so important in February and March, but really that April, May, June, July, even not really August, but that's August too, because that's going to be when these ducklings are growing up in the water, So you got to have adequate habitat. You got to get permission, right? A lot of guys will be like, hey, there's this public creek over here. I want to put boxes. And they're like, well, you got to go to the city and get permission. And, there's all these steps. You got to make sure you get permission. You can't just go put these up wherever you think it's good. You got to make sure you have access, permission. And then really it's just kind of depends on the project on as far as how many boxes you can put up. It's really... If you have like really dense vegetation, you can put a lot more boxes in a closer area. If you're out in an open area, you're going to have to spread them out quite a bit. But I'm always amazed of where wood ducks show up. My parents, I grew up in South Lake Tahoe. There's a little creek in our backyard. And, my dad was like, hey, I want a wood duck box for the backyard. And I was like, Dad, there's no wood ducks up there. What do you want that for? And so sure enough, I give him a box and he puts it up. And within a year, he's got a hen in his box. And now that project's expanded to his neighbor. He wants a box, right? So and every year they have wood ducks nesting in their box up in South Lake Tahoe. It's awesome. And then on the other spectrum of it, we've had a project in the Sutter Bypass, and we've gone out to that project. We installed 25 boxes. We checked it for, I believe, 3 years. And every time we went out there, we'd kick up tons of wood ducks. And 3 years, we never had a single wood duck use a box.
Really?
Yeah,
do you have any idea of why?
My assumption was that it was in the Sutter Bypass and there was a bunch of old growth oaks. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming that there was just enough natural nesting cavities for them.
Yeah.
The last year I was, all these were mounted on poles and I was like, you know what, I'm going to put one on a tree and see what happens. Put one box on a tree and that next year it got used by a wood duck. So I think they were keying in on boxes on trees. And unfortunately that hen got predated, so that didn't work out either. But yeah, it's amazing where you get these boxes, where they take the boxes. I mean, we have a project in like downtown Walnut Creek that's like behind a shopping super center, and he's got wood ducks in his boxes every year, so.
Yeah, that's amazing.
When I look for a spot to put a box, there's, I used to be, I'd put them out in the marsh. I'm too old for that. You're dragging everything in a sled, right now I want to drive up to it. So easy access, shade. I always like to have shade, close to habitat, all those things that Brian brought out. But, in especially the later boxes and in the valley where it gets hot, it's nice to have afternoon shade. So that's something that to give consideration to. Mm-hmm. The project you were talking about where you had wood ducks, there was a project right next door. There's a bunch of islands around where I'm at in the lower delta and central delta, and this is right next door, and there's projects all around us. And I put these wood duck boxes up, and never got one wood duck. You go out there, in February, and there's still flooded water in their ponds, and wood ducks are flushing. And in 4 years, never had one wood duck use a box. And I had them on ditches. I had them in some marsh habitat. Owls, starlings, but never wood ducks.
Yeah, there is some research that shows if wood ducks have nested in natural cavities, then that's what they kind of seek out. And then wood ducks that have been born in boxes, that's what they seek out. So sometimes, like we're saying, some of those projects, they just might be so keyed in on those natural cavities, and there's probably enough natural cavities there for them, to meet their needs for breeding. And so they're just not going to get them to go in boxes in some of those situations. So
makes sense. And what are some of the events that you guys do out throughout the year that people can get involved with and seek out on our website, calwaterfowl.org?
Yeah, so we do a couple events every year, kind of focused around the Wood Duck Program. We have one coming up April 27th, Duck Days at YOLO Refuge down there. So that's we do a box building day there for kids. So we have a couple volunteers. We have a bunch of pre-cut material for building boxes. And we just try and incorporate all the kids, that go to that event. So they come and help put a box together. We are not allowed to sell the boxes there. So it's really just a building thing and just kind of to talk about wood ducks there. We do some box building days throughout the year, so we'll get together with our volunteers and try and meet at our Denverton shop there and build boxes. Every year we usually do a Wood Duck 101. We started doing 2 of them. We do one at CWA Duck Club up near Calusa, and then we started doing one down at the what's the name of that club down there?
Down in Augusta.
Dallas Duck Club, down kind of in the North Grasslands. And they've been real receptive. And basically the idea of 101, Wood Duck 101, is to get people out there, actually go to a project, walk around, check some boxes, show people how to band a duck, show them what an active nest looks like, and really go through the process of managing a project. So if somebody's new, they want to learn how to get involved, they want to start a project, look at one of our Wood Duck 101 events, and they can come out and kind of see the whole process, meet a lot of our volunteers that are doing it with us. And then Jim is just taking over the Wood Duck dinner.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Jim.
I understand, and it was before my time, that the Wood Duck Dinner originated in Stockton, where I'm from. And then it moved to Fairfield, where Robert Franco and Steve Mortensen ran it for the last several years. Most of the DMs, in addition to a lot of other volunteers, were all involved with that. We are moving it back to Stockton, and it's July 27th. We're looking really forward to a huge dinner. We're going to be celebrating our 1 millionth duck this year. Our 1 millionth duck jumped out of the box. So that's that's huge for CWA, and really looking forward to having a lot of fun and a lot of activity for this upcoming dinner.
Nice. Is that going to be the first year it's going to be in Stockton?
First year.
First year back.
Well, the first year back.
First year back, yep. Yeah, so that's going to be a big event. We're going to try and, like you said, we're going to reach our 1 millionth wood duck this year.
Yeah, what are we doing for that? Will you do anything special?
We got some stuff planned, yeah.
Can we talk about it?
Well, we'll see. We haven't dialed it in exactly what we're going to do. So we're trying to think of some creative ideas for that. We're thinking of, some giveaways for all the volunteers. So if you submit data, we're going to have a kind of a raffle for the people that submit data and try and just, give back a little bit.
Okay, so if I submit data on 8 projects, do I get 8 tickets for the raffle?
You should.
I'm just kidding.
I approve, Jim.
We'll see about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I like about the Wood Duck program, it doesn't matter if you are a hunter or if you're male or female or you're 2 years old. It's a program that anyone can go to, look inside of a box, help out, count eggs, see if there's a hen in there, band it. And it's one of those things where if you take a non-hunter out there and you experience it for the first time, you're always going to remember that. Taking a bird out of the box, banding it, putting it back in, or just checking eggs. And finding all the other critters that call those boxes home as well. I mean, I remember one of the very first boxes I've ever checked was on a very large pole without a predator guard. And I looked in there, and there was a ringtail cat staring back at me, and I was like, "What the heck was that?" Like the guy down below the ladder was like, "What was it?" I was like, "I don't know, dude. It was like a cat or something." He was like, "That's a ringtail cat. Those are endangered." He's like, "Just come down." I was like, "Okay." This first day on the job, it was pretty eye opening. But I know when we at our youth camps, like Rancho Esquan, when we're checking the boxes there, it's just one of those things that all the kids remember and the parents. I think it's something extremely special that CWA does, and obviously it wouldn't be possible without everyone's help. And congratulations to you
It
guys.
is very rewarding, and it is something that a parent and child can do together. So, and another thing as far as getting involved, and it's on the website, are the different district managers. If you have a question and you're, find your local district manager, in addition to CWA and Brian or myself. Yeah. But, the guys who are in that area, they're more than happy to come out and help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. I know Jeff shared his story about the ringtail. Do you guys have any crazy, interesting finds in boxes that you want to share with us?
I saw a gray squirrel fly off Brian's shoulder one time.
Yeah, that's happened multiple times.
At Murdoch's.
Yeah. How did that happen?
Well, it was flooded. I didn't have my waders on. I was helping Brian out on a project. He was the only one with waders, so he went out into the water and he put his ladder up. And with the noise or whatever, it came right out of the hole.
About as I was at the top of the ladder.
Yeah,
I remember
like
that.
literally jumped on his shoulder, landed right next to my boot on the levee, and just bolted. And it was pretty funny.
I didn't fall off the ladder, no.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's barn owls always throw you for a loop, because you look in there and there's just these big, giant, wide eyes staring at you, and you kind of look at them like, whoa, what the heck is in there? We've seen 2 wood ducks in a box, 2 female wood ducks in the same box. That's always kind of interesting. Sometimes the females will actually fight each other if they're in the box, and you'll find a dead hen next to a hen laying.
Oh, wow.
But then there's also times, like I said, my parents, the box at my parents' house is so close to their house that we were able to put a Wi-Fi camera in there. And we got a video of 2 females sitting in there, and they look like they're just best friends, And it's likely a mother and her daughter in there sharing the nest, And so it's it's neat seeing the 2 hens. We get a lot of hooded mergansers now, kind of in the Butte Sink area, so that population has grown quite a bit from all the wood duck boxes in that area. Luckily, I was hearing all these presentations from back east, and these people have to deal with all these rat snakes and snakes in the boxes, and we're very lucky out here in the west coast, California. We don't have to deal with snakes in our boxes.
No, but we do have to deal with the rats. And that's another consideration. If you put your box, I noticed, closer to a tree where the rats can use the tree to access the box.
Yeah.
And, the same thing. You open the box and here comes this rat that jumps out and climbs.
Oh, gosh.
It's just, and I didn't stay on the ladder. I jumped.
I know we didn't have it in the box, but there was a bear in the Butte Sink that was going around knocking down boxes looking for, I don't know if it was getting the hens or
that
the
sucker,
eggs.
man. I think they're getting the eggs. Yeah,
Yeah.
That sucker took out probably 100 boxes. I think that one spring, summer. It was crazy.
Yeah, he was on a rampage.
Oh, yeah.
I think 2 years ago.
I think they can smell the nest, and they just knock the box down and eat the eggs. I don't think they really mess with the female, because the female probably, the hen.
But
just
have
jumps
you
out.
heard of that before that happened?
We've had it happen at another project.
Oh, wow.
Brassfield Winery. We used to have a wood duck project up there, and we had a lot of bears that would come in and basically bend the pole in half and get in there and help themselves. Yeah, it's a pain.
It's funny because like the first box, it was around a corner, and I thought someone hit it with the tractor box. And I was like, oh, all right, we'll fix that. And like the next day, they went down the southern part of the ranch. They're like, there's like 17 boxes, and our neighbor had like 20 something boxes just destroyed.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty wild, but.
Those stories always amaze me. How a bear could come all the way down from the mountains and seek out eggs. It's crazy.
Brian, are you seeing anything in the hooded mergansers using the boxes? Is it earlier or at the same time that the wood ducks are trying to use them? Is there an overlap?
There's definitely, so generally speaking, the hooded mergansers nest a little bit earlier than the wood ducks, and then the wood ducks will nest a little bit later. So there is a little overlap there, but it seems like it's getting closer and closer where they're nesting at the same time. So a lot of folks, especially in the Butte Sink area, Gray Lodge Wildlife area, all those projects that we manage, they're just seeing a huge increase in hooded mergansers.
Is that in the last decade?
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah, is there a
When I
reason?
first started, like Murdoch, when I first started 14 years ago, we never really saw hooded merganser nests.
Is that going to be
everywhere?
negative to the wood ducks? Like, is it?
It's
are
there's
we seeing
definitely
any
a little
correlation
bit,
to
There's
it?
definitely a conflict. Yeah, a lot of projects. Some of them they're seeing lower wood duck numbers and bigger merganser numbers, and so this kind of goes back to your box management, right? If you're checking those boxes continuously, you're going to know when that hooded merganser is done, and you can clear it out, and then it's more likely a wood duck will come in and use it afterwards. But we've had boxes with both hooded merganser eggs and wood duck eggs, and the wood duck will hatch the hooded merganser eggs.
Wow.
Yeah. So we always joke, there's little, wood duck with little fish eaters, running around with it. So. But some folks have asked, I don't know the solution to deter hooded mergansers from the boxes. Some people are gonna. This one guy reached out to me this year, and he's gonna try and actually cover the hole until a little bit later in nesting season when the wood ducks come. So to try and exclude the hooded mergansers early and then let the wood ducks in a little bit later. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
That'd be super interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I'd just be afraid that the wood ducks are going to stay out. But
Yeah. I mean,
if they're checking the boxes.
How long
out
does
and
it take them to select a box normally?
Brian was saying earlier, they start selecting a box late January. I mean, you'll see them flying around and looking at boxes and standing on boxes and, and determining whether or not this is going to be a good place for them to lay their eggs.
Do you have any idea the actual process though, the length of time from like, hey, this wood duck, I saw it on my box to like now that wood duck's actually nesting in the box? Is it like a week, 2 weeks, or do we the same day?
Yeah, no, I think it definitely takes some time. I'm not sure how much time, but yeah, it definitely takes. There is a little period, from when they're out prospecting to the actual selection.
I've seen a drake standing on the top of a box with a hen going in the hole and two more hens standing, sitting side by side. Actually, four birds on one box.
Well, checking it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd just like to talk about, if anybody's interested in getting involved with the program, there's a lot of different ways to get involved. If you're interested in helping a project, manage a project, or starting your own project, you can do that. We're always looking for new boxes. If anybody's a construction worker, they've got plywood and they want to whip up a couple boxes, we recommend following our plans online, but you can build boxes, donate them to us. We've always got need for wood duck boxes, across the whole state. If anybody's got Eagle Scouts, we know we do multiple Eagle Scouts every year, so these kids will build, a set amount of wood duck boxes. We'll check them off. We'll go through the process with them, and then they earn their Eagle Scout badge for building wood duck boxes. Same thing, we can give those boxes to new projects, get them out there, get them out on the habitat. And, we're always looking for district managers. It's always, seems like our district managers are getting older and, we're not really filling it in with that younger crowd.
Give a description of the role of a district manager, just so people know what it entails.
Yeah, a district manager is just somebody that's knowledgeable about wood ducks and is willing to kind of go out and help with a project, whether that's, building a box, checking a scout box. Somebody wants to start a new project. I'll say, hey, Jim, I got a guy down in Stockton. He wants to install some boxes on his property. Can you meet up with him and, help him decide on how many boxes and where to place them? And, it's kind of just really you're just like a mentor to somebody that's trying to start the project.
Yeah, and if you look at our database and you see that an area doesn't have a district manager, that's where we really would like to see help. Or you see that there's currently district managers, that doesn't mean that area won't accept more help. So just because there's currently a district manager, if you're interested, reach out.
And then we also, under our banding permit, we allow sub-banders. So I think I have 12 sub-banders now that are specifically for the wood duck program. So like Jim is one of our sub-banders, so he's permitted to go out and band his own wood ducks. I just added 2 new people this year, so
so let's clarify that, because I can go out and start my own project and have boxes behind my house, but I cannot band those birds legally.
Not without a sub permit or somebody who's licensed to band. Yeah,
and that's where you guys come in, and that district manager, one of the sub banders, is going to come in and ban those birds that you have in your boxes.
Yeah, I think almost all of our district managers are also sub banders. I think there's 1 or 2 that aren't banners, but there's also just regular volunteers that aren't district managers that are sub banners, and they can ban under our permit. And there's a process to that, right? You have to basically supply a resume of your background of banding. Like, just if Jeff's never banded a bird before, he's not going to become a sub-bander. You have to go out with one of our banders, myself, one of our district managers, kind of make sure you understand the process, and then actually band quite a few birds before you can get accepted. But there is a process to do that, if you're interested in getting involved that way too.
But you don't have to have a background and a degree in biology to be a good volunteer or a manager. You just have to have some passion, some grit to get out there and just kind of get dirty and make it happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of one of the issues we've always had is everybody likes the idea of wood duck boxes, right? And they always want boxes on their property. But, once you're like, hey, you got to maintain them and you got to, write down some data, and that's where we lose a lot of folks. So there's probably thousands of boxes in California now that are having no management, and that's people that have had boxes up for years, like we said earlier, or it's people that put them up at the beginning of the year, take them down at the end of the year, or check them at the beginning, or not even do that, but it's just the bare minimum, and then they're not reporting the data. So that's always been a thing, is just trying to get all those boxes that are already out there just to get their data into us, you know?
Yeah.
And we have, you know, there's a network of volunteers. I've got a list of, you know, volunteers looking to help with projects, and then projects looking for help, you know, and I try my best to kind of merge those people when I can. So.
Is there any interesting data from banding that comes to mind in terms of, you know, a hen traveling really far, or, you know, a hen being, you know, 10 plus years of age?
Yeah, I'd looked up a little bit of stuff before. I didn't look up any of the age stuff, but like I said, the distance, you know, we had some in South Carolina, Arkansas.
That were banded here.
Banded here and then shot in those different states,
Wow.
yeah. But overall, we've banded 16,500 wood ducks on the nest, and only 4,800 of those have been encountered. So through hunting
Wow.
or recaptures, or found dead, or all kinds of different scenarios. But
Over what period of time?
since we banded under our permit, yeah.
Gotcha.
So I think it's got to be I'm not sure when they started, the 80s, I guess. I don't know. I don't know when they actually started collecting the data on that.
And for those who don't understand what recapture is, typically that's a bird that during monitoring you will pull off the nest and capture the information off her band. So that's typically where recapture comes from.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you have any more questions for our guests before we close out today? Questions, comments, concerns?
No, well, obviously, it's a program that California Waterfowl is extremely proud of. I'm proud of all the work that Brian does and all the volunteers and district managers. So keep up the good work. Congratulations on your millionth duck. I think it's phenomenal. And in our lifetime, it'll be 2 million. So
Yeah.
Jim, Brian, do you guys have anything you want to leave us with? Questions, comments, concerns?
No, I mean, I guess the only thing I would say is that, you know, wood ducks with the boxes, it just provides like this great hands-on experience, you know, like we kind of talked about earlier with kids. But, you know, when we used to do the youth education stuff, we'd have like these kids come in from the inner city, right? And they were like out in nature kind of for the first time. You know, it's not where they grew up. And, you know, you reach your hand in there and grab a wood duck and it's pooping everywhere. And these kids are like, holy smokes. Like, I mean, it's phenomenal how much that can just change their perception on, you know, wildlife and anything. And so even, you know, with my kids at home, we have some wood duck boxes in my backyard, and it's like a family event. You know, we all go down there, we band the hen, we count the eggs, and it's just really cool getting, you know, my 6-year-old and 4-year-old involved. So it's
awesome.
It's just a great program for hands-on learning experience, you know, out in the field. And, you know, thanks to all the volunteers, all our district managers that really, you know, run this program for us, you know, and we're just kind of there to help them, but they really do all the legwork for us. So it's just an amazing program. It's really fun to be a part of.
Yeah, and again, it's a lot of fun for a parent and a child. You don't have to have a 50 box, you know, complex. You know, a couple boxes in your backyard, and you know, it's an activity that the kids love to, you know, to get outside and have that opportunity.
Well, thank you guys for taking time out of your day to come out here. Save for the Blind podcast. Appreciate everyone listening.
yeah, appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Save It for the Blind podcast. You can find our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.